And you had the great privilege and responsibility of translating a number of his texts. What was that like, and what sort of insight did that give you into how the Holy Father's mind worked? Because, I mean, I've read an awful lot of what he's written, but he's written tons and tons, and it's very, very intellectual, dense, interesting, fascinating. What was it like working so closely with the original text?
Well, it was very complex for me as well. Obviously, you know, I just learned Italian, and I had my school level and university German that was helped a bit by speaking to the Swiss guards now and then. And so I would sit down with the German translation on one knee, the Italian on the other, and my dictionaries in front of me, and then try and work through the poetry that he writes and try and, you know, be able to capture that beauty and truth in English, which was such a difficult and complex task. So the four of us were, you know, forever arguing about the correct adjective or noun, or, you know, just to get as close to perfect as we possibly could.
Yeah, and you're a convert to Catholicism, and I noted this interesting piece by another convert, Sohrab Ahmadi, in the New York Times over the weekend, who also talked about Pope Benedict. He wrote that one of Benedict's chief complaints was that the modern world tried to force everything into a narrow scientific lens, crowding out deeper mysteries. And I'd love to hear your reaction to that idea.
Well, I think the mystery of the Catholic Church and the beauty is what brought me into it, and learning more about the saints and the tradition is really, when I explored that, it was something that I couldn't say no to, because the more you learn, the more you fall in love with the doctrine of the Catholic Church. So rather than being restrictive, there's so much mystery and beauty around it, and he really, as much as his writings were complex, the beauty behind them, once you start to read and the more you start to understand, it just draws you in. It's irresistible.
And finally, Joanne, how do you think and hope Pope Benedict's work, and particularly his prodigious volume of writing, will influence the Church in the years and decades to come, especially as the Vatican will one day have to choose a successor to the current Pope, Pope Francis?
Well, I'm really excited actually to see the writings that will come now following his passing, because he hasn't published any of the work that he's been, you know, sitting in his study and working on all this time in his retirement. So I'm sure that will lead one day to him being declared a doctor of the Church. So that's really exciting things to come.
Joanne Bergamin, thank you.
To have been in the Vatican.
It sounds absolutely like it was an honor and a privilege. And Joanne, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and insights with us.